It's clear that we're very soon, maybe even later this year, we'll be producing more chips than we can turn on. Hopefully this year we should prove full reusability for Starship, which will be a profound invention. The reason I say it's not a subtle thing is because all the cells in your body, with some pretty much age at the same rate. I've never seen someone with an old left arm and a young right arm ever in my life. So why is that? That means that there must be a clock, a synchronizing clock,
right,
that is synchronizing across 35 trillion cells in your body. There is some benefit to death, by the way. It's like, there's a reason why we don't actually have a longer lifespan, because if people do live forever for a very long time, I think there's some risk of an ossification of society, of things just getting kind of locked in place, and it just may become stultifying, just not lack vibrancy. But that said, do I think we will figure out ways to extend life and maybe even reverse aging? I think that's highly likely.
So in the future that you talk about, the AI models, autonomous machines, rockets, depends on massive increases in compute, massive increases in energy, expensive energy, manufacturing scale. What are the bottlenecks to get there? And that, once again, with all that expenditures, again, how can we make sure that it's broad and not narrow?
I just think the natural thing is it's going to be very broad, because AI companies will seek as many customers as they possibly can, and the cost of AI is already very low, and it's plummeting every year. I mean, the cost of AI is almost meaningfully changing on a month-to-month basis.
There's open models now everywhere. Yeah.
Yes, there's open models, and the open models only lag. They're maybe a year behind,
right,
the sort of closed models. So I think the AI companies will seek as many customers as possible, which means they'll provide AI to the world.
But the cost of getting to there, the compute, the chips, the fab, the powering, that to me, what are the those are huge.
The limiting factor. Yeah, I think the limiting factor for AI deployment is fundamentally electrical power.
It's just, right, it's energy.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing the rate of AI chip production increase exponentially, but the rate of electricity being brought online is
3%, 4% a year, max.
Yeah. It's clear that we're very soon, maybe even later this year, we'll be producing more chips than we can turn on. Except for China. China's growth in electricity is tremendous.
They're building 100 gigawatts of nuclear as we speak.
Actually, solar is the biggest thing in China. So I believe China's production capacity on solar is 1,500 gigawatts a year, and they're deploying over 1,000 gigawatts a year of solar. Now, for continuous solar load, you divide that by roughly, I don't know, 4 or 5. Call it that's around 250 gigawatts of steady state power paired with batteries. And that's a very big number. That's half of the average power usage in the US.
Right.
So US power usage on average is 500 gigawatts. Right. China, just in solar, in solar like that can provide steady state power, and batteries can do half of the US electricity output per year just with solar. Solar is by far the biggest source of energy. But these are pretty big numbers. Mm-hmm. I'd encourage others to do the same. We obviously don't control the U.S. Tariff policy, mm-hmm. But for other countries, I would recommend that China makes solar cells that are incredibly low cost, And I think it would be worth doing large-scale solar.
I know you're going to be having a couple of big announcements on robotics and what it can do. I mean, when I went to the factory, you showed me those robots.
Yeah.
Quickly, you talked about the billions of robots, but how quickly can they be deployed in a manufacturing setting? How quickly can they be utilized and be functional and create that abundance that you talked about?
Humanoid robotics will advance very quickly. I think we do have some of the Tesla Optimus robots doing simple tasks in the factory.
Right.
We accept probably later this year. By the end of this year, I think they'll be doing more complex tasks, but still deployed in an industrial environment. And probably sometime next year, I'd say that by the end of next year, I think would be selling humanoid robots to the public. That's when we are confident that it's very high reliability, very high safety, and the range of functionality is also very high. You can basically ask it to do anything you'd like.
You're already seeing that in Tesla cars, the software changes that you're doing. And what is it, every quarter now, a software change that upgrades the ability of the robot within the car?
Yes, the Tesla Full Self-Driving software, we update it sometimes once a week. Recently, some of the insurance companies have said that it is actually so safe, when Tesla Full Self-Driving is so safe that they're offering customers half-price insurance if they use Tesla Full Self-Driving in their car.
And that can be monitored by the insurance company? Is that part of the agreement then?
Yeah. I think self-driving cars is essentially a solved problem at this point.
Right.
And Tesla's rolled out a sort of robo-taxi service in a few cities, and
right.
will be very, very widespread by the end of this year within the U.S. And then we hope to get supervised full self-driving approval in Europe, hopefully next month.
Really, that quickly?
Yeah, and then maybe a similar timing for China, hopefully.
I want to move to space because historically space is very capital intensive. It historically been done by governments. Obviously, SpaceX changed the whole model. But we've seen it slow to scale, and now I'm starting to see it ramping up in what you're doing and other things. Talk to us about the automation and AI, how it's changing the economics in building and preparing for us in operating in space.
Well, the key breakthrough the major breakthrough that SpaceX is hoping to achieve this year is full reusability. So no one has ever achieved full reusability of a rocket, which is very important for the cost of access to space. We've achieved partial reusability with Falcon 9 by landing the boost stage. We've now landed the boost stage over 500 times. But we have to throw away the upper stage. The upper stage sort of burns up on reentry for Falcon 9. So, and the cost of that is equivalent to a small to medium-sized jet. So, but with Starship, which is a giant rocket, it's the largest flying machine ever made.
That's a rocket that you're using for the idea of going to Mars, right?
Yeah, Mars and the Moon, as well as for high-volume satellite stuff. So, Starship. Hopefully this year we should prove full reusability for Starship, which will be a profound invention. The cost of access to space will drop by a factor of 100 when you achieve full reusability.
Right.
It's the same sort of economic difference that you would expect between, say, a reusable aircraft and a non-reusable aircraft. Like if you have to throw your aircraft away after every flight, that would be a very expensive flight. But if you only have to refuel, then it's the cost of the fuel. And so that's really the fundamental breakthrough that gets the cost of access to space, we think, below the cost of freight on aircraft. So, you know, under $100 a pound type of thing easily.
Wow.
So it makes putting large satellites into space, very low, very cheap. And then when you have solar in space, you get 5 times more effectiveness, maybe even more than that, than solar on the ground.
There's a lot of ways this movie can end. Like the reason I'm so concerned about AI safety is that like one of the possibilities is the Terminator scenario. It's not 0%. That's why it's like I'm like really banging the drum on AI needs to be maximally truth-seeking. Like don't force AI to believe a lie, like that. For example, the founding fathers were actually a group of diverse women, or that misgendering is worse than nuclear war. Because if that's the case, and then you get the robots and the AI becomes omnipotent, it can enforce that outcome, and then like unless you're a diverse woman, you're out of the picture. So we're toast.
So that's
or you might wake up as a diverse woman one day. The AI has adjusted the picture, and we are now a diverse
everyone's
woman.
a diverse woman. So that would be
Yeah.
that's the worst possible situation. So what would be the steps that we would have to take in order to implement the benign solution, where it's universal high income, like best case scenario? This is the path forward to universal high income for essentially every single citizen, that the economy gets boosted by AI and robotics to such an extent that no one ever has to work again. And what about meaning for those people, which gets really weird?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer the question about meaning.
That's an individual problem, right? But it's going to be an individual problem for millions of people.
Yeah, I guess I've like fought against saying like, I've been a voice saying like, hey, we need to slow down AI, we need to slow down all these things, and we need to, not have a crazy AI race. I've been saying that for a long time, for 20 plus years. But then I came to realize that really there's 2 choices here: either be a spectator or a participant. And if I'm a spectator, I can't really influence the direction of AI. But if I'm a participant, I can try to influence the direction of AI and have a maximally truth-seeking AI with good values that loves humanity. And that's what we're trying to create with Grok at XAI. The research is, I think, bearing this out. Like I said, when they compared like how do AIs value the weight of a human life, Grok was the only one of the AIs that weighted human life equally, and didn't say like a white guy's worth 1/20th of a black woman's life. Literally, that's what that's the calculation they came up with.
But
so
again,
I'm like, guys, this is very alarming. We got to watch this stuff.
So this is one of the things that has to happen in order to reach this benign solution.
Yeah, I just keep
Best movie ending. Yeah.
You want a curious, truth-seeking AI. And I think a curious, truth-seeking AI will want to foster humanity because we're much more interesting than a bunch of rocks. Like say, I love Mars, but Mars is kind of boring. Like it's just a bunch of red rocks. There's some cool stuff. It's got a tall mountain. It's got the biggest ravine and the tallest mountain. But there's no animals or plants and there's no people. So humanity is just much more interesting if you're a curious, truth-seeking AI than not humanity. It's just much more interesting. I mean, like as humans, we could go, for example, and eliminate all chimps. If we put our minds to it, we could go out and we could annihilate all chimps and all gorillas, but we don't. There has been encroachment on their environment, but we actually try to preserve the chimp and gorilla habitats. And I think in a good scenario, AI would do the same with humans. It would actually foster human civilization and care about human happiness. So this is a thing to try to achieve, I think.
But what does the landscape look like if you have Grok competing with OpenAI, competing with all these different how does it work? What if you have AIs that have been captured by ideologies that are side by side competing with Grok?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we? So this is one of the reasons why you felt like it's important to not just be an observer, but participate and then have Grok be more successful and more potent than these other applications.
Yes, as long as there's at least one AI that is maximally truth-seeking, curious, and for example, weighs all human lives equally, does not favor one race or gender, then that and people are able to look at Grok at XAI and compare that and say, hey, wait a second, why are all these other AIs being basically sexist and racist? Then that causes some embarrassment for the other AIs, and then they improve. They tend to improve, just in the same way that acquiring Twitter and allowing the truth to be told and not suppressing the truth forced the other social media companies to be more truthful. In the same way, having Grok be a maximally truth-seeking, curious AI will force the other AI companies to be more truth-seeking and fair.
And the funniest thing is, even though like the socialists and the Marxists are in opposition to a lot of your ideas, but if this gets implemented and you really can achieve universal high income, that's the greatest socialist solution of all time. Like literally,
Yes.
No one will have to work.
Correct. Like I said, so there is a benign scenario here, which I think probably people will be happy with if as long as we achieve it, which is sustainable abundance. Which is if everyone can have if you ask people like, what's the future that you want?
Right.
I think a future where we haven't destroyed nature, like we have the national parks, we have the Amazon rainforest still there. We haven't paved the rainforest. Like the natural beauty is still there, but people have, nonetheless, everyone has abundance. Everyone has excellent medical care. Everyone has whatever goods and services they want.
And we would essentially
it kind of sounds like heaven.
It sounds like
basically.
it is like the ideal socialist utopia, and this idea that the only thing you should be doing with your time is working in order to pay your bills and feed yourself sounds kind of archaic, considering the kind of technology that's at play.
Yeah.
Like a world where that's not your concern at all anymore. Everybody has money for food. Everybody has abundance. Everybody has electronics in their home. Everybody essentially has a high income. Now you can kind of do whatever you want. And your day can now be exploring your interests, doing things that you actually enjoy doing. Your purpose just has to shift. So instead of, I'm a hard worker and this is what I do and that's how I define myself. No, now you can fucking golf all day. You can, whatever it is that you enjoy doing can now be your main pursuit.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds crazy good.
Yeah, that's
So the best-
that's the benign scenario that we should
The
be aiming
best
for.
ending to the movie is actually pretty good.
Yes, like I think there is still this question of meaning, of like making sure people don't lose meaning. So hopefully they can find meaning in ways that are that's not derived from their work.
And purpose. Purpose for things that find things that you do that you enjoy. But there's a lot of people that are independently wealthy that spend most of their time doing something they enjoy.
Right.
And that could be the majority of people.
Pretty much everyone.
But we would have to rewire how people approach life, which seems to be like acceptable because you're not asking them to be enslaved. You're exactly asking them the opposite. Like no longer be burdened by financial worries. Now, go do what you like.
Yes.
Go fucking test pizza. Do
Yes.
whatever you want.
Pretty much. That's probably the best case outcome.
That sounds like the best case outcome, period, for the future. If you're looking at like how much people have struggled just to feed themselves all throughout history, food, shelter, safety. If all of that stuff can be fixed, like how much would you solve a lot of the crime if there was a universal high income? Just think of that. Like how much of crime is financially motivated? The greater percentage of people that are committing crimes live in poor, disenfranchised neighborhoods. So if there's no such thing anymore, if you really can achieve universal high income,
Yeah.
it sounds like a utopian.
I think some people may commit crime because they like committing crime. Just
Oh, sure.
some amount of that is they just
There's a
enjoy
lot of
it.
wild people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously they've become 40 years old living a life like that. Now all of a sudden, universal high income is not going to completely stop their instincts.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you want to have say read a science fiction book or some books that are probably inaccurate or the least inaccurate version of the future, I'd say I'd recommend the Ian Banks books called the culture book.